Okay, guys, I am going to share with you guys today about lens neurofeedback and how it really does help support and improve depression. Really amazing tool to really quickly clear depression. But before we get into the meat about brainwaves and neurofeedback and what it does, I am going to tell you a little bit about me, about my group practice, and then we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of lens neurofeedback. So again, I'm Victoria Valdez. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in the state of Tennessee. I am the owner and clinical operational director of Tri-Synergy Counseling, which is a group practice that is located in Brentwood. And as a licensed marriage and family therapist, I specialize providing treatments for anyone dealing or for children, teens, and adult women and parents in the state of Tennessee that really are dealing with any anxiety, trauma, ADHD, PTSD, and need grief support. And, oh, excuse me. I'm also a lens neurofeedback provider. I'm a wellness coach, or wellness educator, and a parent coach. I'm also the leader of the Spanish speaking therapist group for the state of Tennessee. I'm a mom of three, as well as a entrepreneur, right? And I am a wife, a lover of Latin dancing and creative writing and doing things outdoors like camping. So we are in my personal office space here today. And a fun fact about me is yellow is my favorite color. So a little bit about Tri-Synergy Counseling is it again, it's a group practice. We have this really great team of diverse therapists who have their own niches, but we can serve children, teens, adults, couples, and individuals and families. We offer counseling intensives, which is a really cool, amazing, transformative service that allows for a very accelerated healing structure and pace. So instead of doing weekly therapy sessions, you condense them into a full day or even several days. We do parenting services. We've got immigration eval services. We have two lens neurofeedback providers, and we do offer wellness services such as women's groups, wellness intensives, and a mental health wellness webinar that's free for the community. All right, let's jump in there and get into the meat here. So, healthy brain waves really are a vital key to your mental health, your mental wellness. It's not the whole shabam, it's not the whole embodiment. There obviously are other things that can contribute to our mental health and wellness, but brain waves are a significant vital key. Okay, so what are brain waves, right? So, your brain is a powerhouse of electrical activity. And so, every thought, every feeling, every action is fueled by our brain waves. And that's that synchronized electrical impulses that really guide our brain's communication system and other systems throughout our body. And these brain waves, the way that we know that they're there and they're measured is because of that electrical firing when our neurons are firing and wiring and making synaptic connections. It gives off electrical pulses. And that's how we found brainwaves. The cool thing is about brainwaves is there's over 100 years of research, and that's why we have a really pretty good grasp on their functioning and what they do. But there's still a lot that we're learning, so I cannot wait to see, even in the next 5 to 10 years, what new things we're going to learn and imagine in 30. So it's exciting. It's very exciting. And so, if any of these brain waves are imbalanced, are hard to get to because of brain injury or whatnot, or over functioning or under functioning, then we're going to see, mental dysfunction. We're going to see mental suffering. We're going to have struggles. We're going to see that. And I'm going to talk about that. The way that brainwaves are measured are through an EEG. And we can tell through an EEG by putting usually it's like a skull cap with electrodes or sensors that can map out the brain waves in about 21 sites or regions in the brain. And so those sensors can detect those electrical pulses. And so researchers can see individually as each brain wave and how it's functioning for each person. So different brain waves that are associated with depression. We're going to dive right in there about brain waves. So we have five, and one of them is delta. So what we found was that excessive delta activity during awake states is associated with fatigue, brain fog, lack of motivation, and it's very common in depression. So you're going to feel that sluggishness, right? When we have healthy delta waves, that's delta waves. One of the responsibilities too is for deep, restful sleep. And so and so they're supposed to be more active when in balance during unconscious states. So if we're awake and we're going throughout our day and our brain has too much delta, these are some of the symptoms that you're going to see. And then you have theta waves, and those elevated theta waves, especially in that frontal lobe area, can lead to excessive ruminating, emotional overwhelm, difficulty concentrating. And we know oftentimes too, if they're certain regions of the brain for theta, if it's way low under functioning, theta's responsibility is for relaxation and really lowers our stress levels, and helps us feel like we're having a good mood. And so you can see how that can affect our symptoms of feeling happy if it's not balanced. Then we have alpha waves, and alpha are if it's excessive, then you're going to have that sense of detachment, or it's difficulty to engage in the world. If you have really low alpha in certain regions of the brain, then you're going to have that negative mind frame, negative state of mind, and it really reduces emotional resiliency. And then beta. So, low beta really can impair our energy, our focus, our cognitive processing, which worsens over time our depressive symptoms. And if we have excessively high beta, then it can contribute to anxiety, which is really common. A co-diagnosis with depression or ADHD and other issues. And then we have gamma. So very low or reduced gamma activity can hinder our higher order of thinking, our creativity, our ability to experience positive emotions. And so you can see how over or under functioning of these brainwaves really affect the way that we feel, our emotions, the way that we're thinking. And if we don't do anything to disrupt or interrupt this process and help the brain form newer or more functioning connections, then our brain will continue to just kind of reproduce more dysfunctional or underfunctioning or overfunctioning brainwaves. But the lens neurofeedback can really disrupt that process and really enhance it. And so what neurofeedback does to improve depression is it reduces that excessive delta and that theta activity, helping to improve our alertness, our focus, our overall cognitive clarity. So you're also going to see an improvement of like motivation as well. It's going to balance our alpha waves in that frontal region. It's going to support our emotional stability, build up that emotional resiliency, and it's going to really help the brain adapt and be responsive in positive ways to challenges. It's going to really optimize our beta activity, and it's going to boost our focus, our ability to problem solve, our motivation, and it's going to help reduce our agitation and any overthinking or rumination, right? That excessive worry. And it's going to enhance our gamma. And that's going to help us have a positive mood. It's going to help with cognitive integration and just help us have a sense of good well-being, right? Um, it's also going to boost our mood because it's going to help with like stress and relaxation once those other, like when alpha, theta, and delta are in balance as well. So what the lens does, it really does reset any dysfunctional or unhealthy or unhelpful patterns in our brainwave and kind of get us unstuck, right? And so that we can feel more resilient. And it happens pretty quickly. Okay, so I talked a lot about brain waves. I talked a lot about how our lens neurofeedback will change our brain waves, alter them, and get them into healthy functioning so we're feeling better. But what are these brain waves, right? So, and what is the lens, right? Like, not what are the brainwaves, but what is the lens neurofeedback system, right? What is it? So, the lens stands for low energy neurofeedback system, and it's kind of similar to an EEG, and it works more rapidly than traditional neurofeedback. And so, what it does is it's giving your brain multiple low energy frequencies and signaling to your brain, stimulating it, alerting it, resetting that brain to a healthier function. And so, more specifically, what the lens neurofeedback does, it actually records your brain waves in real time and then mirrors it right back into the brain. So the brain does what's like a autocorrect. It actually enhances our body's own ability to heal itself and make its own adjustment, which is pretty like remarkable. Dr. Len Osh, he created it and it's been in use for well over 30 years. We know that it's been great for even helping with animals with anxiety or experience any other type of harm. The FDA has approved it as a wellness support specifically for stress management, even though we know it does way more than that. Hopefully, soon in the future, it'll be recognized as a form of by the FDA as a form of more than just a stress management tool because it does so much. And we're learning more and more of what it can do. So here's a little bit about our software, the hardware, like some of the what you would see if you came into our office. So on this left-hand picture, we've got the two flat sensors with clips. What that is are the head sensors, and there's 21 head sites that we move those sensors around the brain during sessions when we're providing lens back neurofeedback or when we're doing an initial brain map. That box in the middle there is called a neurobit box, and that's where the brain rate recording or the data is being transferred through the neurobit box into our software. And then the wires on that right hand of the picture, the red, green, black, brown, and white. Those are body sensors, which are great for pain management, or those who don't need a dose of neurofeedback on their head, but their body system responds more effectively with a lower amount of lens. And so that's where we would use the body lens. Specifically, young children respond optimally when we use body lens. And then we have the neurofeedback system. That's when you come into our office, depending on which office room you're using that day. If you're which provider we're working with, there's a screen there where you can see your brain waves in real time and kind of see the dose being submitted and seeing there. We can mirror that for you and show you your brain map. So what's a brain map? So there are 21 sites. This is an example of a 9-year-old child with ADHD. And so I'm going to highlight some things very quickly. You can see here there is blue to black ratios on the bar. A healthy functioning or balanced functioning of brain waves, you're going to see is going to be 30%, about 30 to 35% blue versus black, because blue is a representation of our brain's flexibility in that area. And so each that T5, T6, that's associated with a region of your brain. And black represents our brain's rigidity, which we want our brain to be rigid. In a sense, I like to use humor and say that I don't know about you, but I want my brain to remember when I'm sleeping to breathe, to for my heart to beat, right? So I like to use that as a funny example of like, hey, we need it to be a little bit rigid, right? So it remembers. This is the suppression part of a brain map. And this is really cool because here we can see which are under functioning or over functioning as well in a different way, different little bit of a data range. So the orange represents that those areas of the brain are over functioning. I'm sorry, under fixed functioning. Orange is under, pink is over functioning. and we want to see them turn blue. So the cool thing about the lens neurofeedback is when you're getting your weekly sessions, the data that you would see on that sets of head sites are going to be what was recorded in real time. You don't see the change until we come back around again. And so we get to compare your initial brain map with your progress. But even though it's fun to have a visual, the most important telling success of the change and the positive experience is what you notice is different, or you as the parent that you noticed is different if your child is coming. When you work with us here at Tri-Synergy, we do provide you with a lens neurofeedback wellness type of workbook and guide to help enhance your experience with us. It comes with a little map, so that brain zoning map, so you can see when you get your brain maps, and as you go weekly or as many times as you come, you can compare and see what site. So for example, FP1 in this example is right here. And that's the area of the region of the brain that's associated with the functions of attention, focus, possible depression. FP2 is the area more associated where you're going to have more anxiety, impulsivity, addiction, restraint of impulse. Now, it doesn't necessarily people tell me, oh my gosh, do I have addiction problems? I say, hey, that's the area of the brain where we might see related issues there. But it doesn't mean that you have an addiction unless the shoe fits and that's what you're struggling with. Well, then we're here to help, right? So this is just a visual of the years of research where brain researchers know these are the areas of the brain that are associated with these types of functionings. Okay, so just really quickly, some common if you're not really sure if your loved one or you yourself are dealing with depression, here are some common symptoms. You're going to see in your mood, persistent feelings of sadness or emptiness or hopelessness, irritability, maybe feeling really intolerant of other people, guilty, feelings of worthlessness or helplessness, loss of interest in things that you used to love to do, maybe fatigue, even body fatigue, sleep issues, maybe having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep or sleeping too much. You might notice appetite changes, whether eating too much or too little. Physical symptoms, body aches and pains, headaches, cramps, digestive issues, without a clear physical cause, so like something else, right? Concentration issues. And it's possible that your loved one or yourself may be having self-harm thoughts or thoughts of taking your own life. So let's talk about, what do clients report about the positive effects of lens. So when you work with us, we do, like to monitor and track how you're doing so that we can give you the best service possible. So there is a 48-hour form that we use that we require clients to fill out on the 48th hour so that we can track how the changes are going. So here's what clients have reported within the first 48 to 72 hours. Um, Overall, feelings of relaxedness, feeling uh, mental clarity, increased motivation, easier to problem solve, improved focus and concentration, a relaxed state, a reduction in irritability, regulated digestion, reduction of depressive thoughts, reduction of self-harm, or thoughts of ending their life, improved confidence, improved mood, hopefulness, improved sleep, reduction of negative thoughts, improved appetite, or just regulated eating habits, increased feelings of happiness, and increased creativity. Some of the cases that we've worked with, we've had clients who were dealing with very severe depression and were having active self-harming thoughts and active suicidal thoughts with plans. And we were able to do intensive services about 3 to 4 times that in a week, and just instantly disrupt the patterns of those self-harm and very, very quick transformational change for a client that was in desperation. Um, so it can be very, very, very powerful. So you're hearing about all these really great changes, but like how long do they last, right? How long do the changes last? So changes typically last about 5 to 7 days. Now you have to remember that our brain is kind of like a rubber band. If you've been dealing with this issue for a very long time, or it's a neurological issue, then think of your brain like a rubber band. It wants to snap back to the way it was. And so when the neurofeedback is disrupting that pattern and trying to create new ones, some people may need more and others may need less. So it really depends. Um, for that change to stick to where you don't have to keep coming. It depends on each person, right? So we know though, for children and adolescents, their brains are more flexible, a little bit more neuroplasticity. And so they're going to need less lens neurofeedback sessions. So the younger they are, the less sessions they're going to need. So on average, depending on the age of the child or the teenager, you're looking at about 6 to 11, and depending if it's a neurological issue, which I'll get to in a second. And then you have adults. Adults need typically, we're a little bit less flexible, but we need maybe 11 to 20 sessions depending on the goal. Now, if we're dealing with a complex issue, such as like complex trauma, PTSD, OCD, then we're looking, for example, then we're looking at longer sessions for longer periods of time. If we're looking at a neurological issue, such as like autism or ADHD, Parkinson's, dementia, then we're looking for 40 to 100 sessions. For that change to really, really stick so that it doesn't need that repeat stimulation, right? Excuse me. Um, and so it just really depends on what the outcome goal is or what the goal is for each individual. And with a neurological issue, well, like ADHD, we're not looking, the goal isn't for a cure. We're not curing the ADHD with the lens, but we're enhancing executive functioning, enhancing the brain's ability to emotionally regulate, and those things will change. So it's very, very powerful. Okay, so what's our wellness investment, right? So for a full-on 60-minute brain mapping and a tailored personal plan of further treatment and what we're going to do, Um, that's 250. And then weekly sessions are $100. They're about 25 minutes. We have family packages, package discounts. We have referral discounts and sliding scales and a limited slot. We do offer seasonally throughout the year package reduced packages, specials, or brain mapping specials as well. And so you can definitely check on our website and follow our Facebook page or social medias where you'll see those, or join our newsletter and you'll be the first to know about when we're running a special. So our frequency is that we recommend weekly sessions unless you're dealing with severe depression or more complex issues, then we do want you to come more frequently to disrupt that pattern more quickly. But otherwise, we would weekly. Weekly is very important to really set the foundation of that change. And then we would move to biweekly to one time a month to see you later. That's us testing that the brain has made that change, right? And then of course we're here if you ever need anything. Sometimes life, things in life happen. You maybe had a concussion or whatnot. You might need to come back and see us again. And then again, reminding you that if it's a more complex or neurological issue, you're looking at more sessions. Please visit our Google reviews or our testimonials on our website, and you can hear all the wonderful things that clients have said about Lens Neurofeedback, about our services. And I'm so glad that you spent time with me today and learning about Lens, and we hope to service your family soon.